Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch was a JRPG developed by Level 5 in 2011 for the PlayStation 3, and it was one of the few JRPGs that I ever played, and I absolutely adored it. And then Ni No Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom came out in 2018, developed by the same company, Level 5, for the PS4, and it was the most insane, convoluted, and dumbest story I have ever played in a video game in a long time. And I played a video game where you play as the son of God and you have to create new planets because God got drunk one night and destroyed them. And I know I am very late to the story, this being like a 2-year-old game, but the story is so absolutely insane that I wanted to explain it and share it with the world. AKA the 3 people that are willing to watch this video because they're too lazy to change the channel, and my 2 aunts that will support me regardless of what I do, even though I say fuck every 5 seconds. Anyway, let's start with the first game. Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch was a cute little JRPG that didn't really pique my interest, even though it had won multiple awards, and there's that one friend that everybody has that lives and breathes anime, and he wouldn't stop bothering me about it. Until I found out that Studio Ghibli was involved. And if you haven't heard of Studio Ghibli, I highly recommend you stop watching this video and go watch one of their movies, because they're so good. At least some of the ones that Miyazaki made, because seriously, they're amazing. But anyway, once I heard that Studio Ghibli was involved, I bought a copy and sat my little butt down in order to play this game and be ready to cry my eyes out. Which, I didn't cry, but I absolutely love this story. You play as Oliver, this little kid that just does little kid stuff, until he inadvertently causes his own mother's death, and racked with guilt, he spends the next few days living alone in his room with a little doll that his mom gave him as a kid. Unbeknownst to him, this doll was actually a fairy that was going to be a guide for him into his adventure to a new world in order to save his mom, because apparently in the new world there are versions of people from the real world and their lives affect each other. So the fact that his mom died, the reason she died is because apparently in the other world she got captured and she's now being drained of her magic powers by the White Witch. So you have to go save her. And it's just super good. Like, the story is really cool. Oliver finds himself traveling to all these cool new worlds and like meeting new characters and interacting with these neat little areas. And even though the game is a little bit long, it takes about 40 hours to complete, I absolutely loved my time with this game. The environments were cool and interesting, the characters were fun, and the combat mechanic was awesome. And the main thing that I really liked about it was the familiar system. Each party member can capture up to 3 familiars that they can train and evolve and level up and give them new moves and stats. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it's Pokemon. They put Pokemon in the game. It's Studio Ghibli Pokemon. And if you don't already know, I absolutely adore Pokemon. Now, this game wasn't a blatant ripoff. There were enough differences in order to make this game still feel unique and engaging, but enough similarities in order for me to be able to feel comfortable with the massive amount of information that they dumped onto me in the familiar system. I dove headfirst into the deep end of this game in order to find the best matches for each character and the best stats for each familiar in order to buff to get the best power uses out of each one. And the story was definitely more enthralling enough to keep me playing through this kind of repetitive gameplay, and I highly recommend it. It is really, really good. They just recently remastered it on the PS4 and the Switch, so I would definitely recommend you check it out. It is well worth the grind. It is a lot at first, but it's super fun. Needless to say, when they announced the second one, I was the first person to jump on the hype train and ride it all the way to release date. I bought the collector's edition, I bought all the pop figurines and the matching characters. Unfortunately, I didn't see any of the red flags. They had a completely new game director, Studio Ghibli backed out from helping develop the game, and also, the main character was this stupid-looking cat boy. The second one was so bad, I was completely devastated by how horrible this game was. And it was just ridiculous. Like, right at the beginning, they took everything that the first one established and promptly throw it out the window. At the very beginning, you are the President of the United States driving through a city to go to a UN meeting when suddenly the city that you're driving through gets hit by a nuclear missile, and as you're dying, you get transported to a new world for seemingly no reason. You get de-aged about 30 years, and you get transported to this little boy, this little cat boy's room, right in the middle of a coup taking place to overthrow said little cat boy. And instead of, questioning your existence or freaking out over the fact that your entire city just got blown up by a nuclear missile or any other regular reaction to what just happened to him, President Mr. Blue Mullet decides to help this whiny little cat boy by taking out a gun and capping people before he realized that might be a bad idea, and then picks up a sword to start helping them. And Mr. Whiny little cat boy decides to create a new magical kingdom in this world and envelop all of the other kingdoms to make one peaceful kingdom that he rules with an iron fist. Or the power of friendship, whatever. And if that isn't crazy enough to make you cock your head slightly sideways, scratch your head and say, what the fuck, then I have no idea what will. This game makes no sense. It's so full of mind-boggling twists and turns as you weave your way through this confusing game, and it is far from the first game, as the only thing that I can find similar between them is the music and the art style. The awesome hand-drawn cutscenes are gone, the likable, well-crafted characters are replaced with the most one-note, bland, and frankly annoying characters with the exception of President Blue Mullet. The biggest cardinal sin of all is that they took out the familiars. Yeah, that thing that I really liked that drew me into the first game, yeah, they completely fucking removed it and replaced it with these dumb-looking multicolored spirits called Higgledies, which provide nothing but a momentary buff to one of your stats depending on which color Higgledy you use. It was just so disappointing. And it was a slog to grind through this 40+ hour mess of a game. There were so many points of the game where the story made absolutely no sense, and yet the game insisted that you do them. For example, in one city, Hydropolis, the queen is in love with her assistant, Leander, but sadly, this all ends when the city is destroyed by a volcano or whatever. Thankfully, the queen is able to trap the city in a time loop in order to keep the city alive. However, if there's a death or a birth in the city, it will stop the magic and the city will no longer be around. So the queen set up these strict laws in order for people to follow them so this doesn't happen. But Catboy shows up, screws that whole plan up by playing matchmaker for like 9 people in the first 10 seconds he's there, and then defeats the queen because she was taken over by the evil bad guy. And after you defeat the queen, the time loop just stops and the volcano just disappears and is never mentioned again. And there's constant parts where this game just doesn't make sense, or it doesn't follow through with something that it set up itself. It just doesn't follow through with it. They also added new game mechanics like a city manager, where it's like practically a town version of Farmville, where you create buildings so you can collect money, so you can use that money to build more buildings so you can collect more money. It's super boring and dumb. And then there's this other RTS system that they have where you have like these little units that you have to move in like a lazy Susan, and they run around and attack each other. And I mean, it's a nice difference in the gameplay, so I don't have to do these random encounters, and more time spent not listening to that little cat boy whine, the better. But it's useless, and it doesn't really add anything to the game, and it just seems to stretch out this already ridiculously long game for no reason. Even the ending was confusing and backwards. Like, spoilers, don't play this game anyway, but spoilers. As it turns out, the dude that has been helping Catboy succeed in his quest to unite all the kingdoms, thinking that he was actually like an old fabled, like older king, was actually the Catboy's future son, using some weird time loop magic, and then everybody just lives happily ever after. Even Mr. Blue Waffle, the president, when he goes back to his city that just recently got hit by a nuclear holocaust, and he just totally rolls with it. There, I just saved you 40 hours of your life. Don't play this game. All in all, what I'm trying to say is play Ni No Kuni 1. It's great. You'll have lots of fun enjoying the story, the characters, and the gameplay, and don't touch the second one with a 10-foot pole. Am I being a little harsh? Maybe. But they took my favorite part out of the first one and replaced it with something so functionally useless that I'm surprised I didn't break the game right there. Thank you for going on this journey with me. I hope you enjoyed my ranting, and please let me know if you did by liking or subscribing, and leave a comment of another game that disappointed you like this one did to me, and maybe I'll make a video about it whining into the camera for 10 minutes like I did right now. See you guys later. Peace.